with another video. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about childhood trauma and parenting, and basically just the ins and outs of how what you go through as a child, what you experience as a child, how it affects you as an adult, and just the relationship with parenting and how it affects us, and just a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to dive deep. We're going to talk about all of that stuff in this video. So go ahead and give me the video a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? If you aren't subscribed yet, let's hop into it. So basically, you know what I'm saying? On my spiritual journey over the past 2 years, I've been learning a lot of stuff. And one of the main important things I have learned is how childhood trauma and things that we experience as a child, how that affects us as we grow up. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because I never used to think about it, like how what we experience when we're young, how it affects us as we become older. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not something that's very, very talked about. I see it being talked about and discussed a lot now. I'm glad that it's becoming a topic that people are talking about. But for a long time, I don't think it was something that was being discussed a lot. So, you know, my perspective on it is that I definitely agree. What you go through as a child, what you go through as a kid, it definitely affects you as you become an adult. And it affects you going down later in your life in all areas. How you look at dating, how you look at sex, how you look at money, how you look at self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, how you interact with other people. All of that is very interconnected with what you go through with your own parents or whoever raised you, you know, growing up, and your influences. And to me, like, I'm realizing how there's things that I went through growing up that was like tough, you know what I'm saying? That I feel like, man, like now I see why, like, I don't know, like I just been connecting the dots on how and why I act a certain way. I feel like for me growing up, I was the type to be very people pleasers. Like I just wanted to do anything to make my parents happy. I didn't want to upset them. You know, I used to hate getting whoopings. I used to hate getting beatings and stuff. And I wasn't like a bad child. I wasn't like a horrible kid. You know what I'm saying? I was pretty smart. I did what I had to do. But sometimes I got in trouble. Sometimes I did something. I had a smart mouth, quote unquote. And sometimes, you know, I would get in trouble. And I used to fear that so much. I used to hate that. And, you know, I realized how that affected me growing up. You know, I don't like conflict. Sometimes I can get into spaces where I people please, or, you know what I'm saying? And I'm realizing how that was connected to my childhood. You know what I'm saying? I realized how that affects how I interact with people. It affects friendships. I feel like I've always been a giver type of person. I've been the person that give. You know, like it wasn't something that I learned when I was younger to set boundaries, to learn how to say no. I was the oldest sibling out of 3. I feel like a lot of times, you know, I never had the ability, or I had the option to decide what I want to do or to do something for me. I feel like I always had to be conscious about everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Even my parents, sometimes I feel like it was codependent in ways. Like, you know what I'm saying? There weren't always clear-cut boundaries. And even with my parents, sometimes I feel like there was always a disconnect. Like I felt like I couldn't open up to them or talk about stuff that I was going through. You know what I'm saying? I was very reserved and quiet about stuff. How was school? It was good. Like I never really tried to go deep. Sometimes, not saying that our relationship was horrible. You know, there was times where we connected a lot. My mom and my dad, you know, we had fun, we did stuff. But then other times, it just felt like I couldn't really open up to them. I couldn't really express myself. And I feel like my self-esteem and my self-confidence was something that was very low growing up in like middle school and elementary school. I feel like all the other kids were always more confident, and, you know, I wanted to be like that. And I'm realizing too how like just like stuff that you go through, like when you get yelled at or stuff like that mentally affects you too, mentally and emotionally. People talk about just physical abuse, but it's not even just the physical abuse, it's the mental and emotional. You know what I'm saying? Getting yelled at, getting talked down to sometimes, like you just feel less than, you feel small. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that can hinder you from speaking up when you get older, when you become an adult. You know what I'm saying? You just tolerate stuff. And it's like I had to learn, you know what? No, my voice is powerful. I got to speak up for myself. I got to, you know what I'm saying? My opinion matters. I don't have to just try to people please all the time and do what everybody else wants me to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, my parents, you know, I respect them and I love them and I appreciate. Yeah, I love my parents and everything, but at the same time, like I know everything wasn't always as positive as I would have liked it to have been. But what I learned is that, you know, everybody has some form of trauma. Everybody has been through something, you know, that has affected them to where they are now. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has some type of hurt or pain that they have felt, that they have experienced. And I just want us to end these cycles. I want us to be able to live life, you know what I'm saying, without having to regurgitate, without having to pass down this trauma to our kids. You know what I'm saying? Because we are basically the future, and our children are the future leaders, the future everything. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, we got to make a choice to be like, okay, you know what? This type of behavior, these type of decisions, we got to stop. We got to do something different. We got to think a new thought. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that I'm so glad that as a society, we are starting to become more aware. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that at 22 years old, I am more aware of how what I went through when I was younger has affected me to where I'm at now. You know what I'm saying? I'm super grateful for that, because a lot of people are not aware of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that I'm talking about this, the fact that I'm making a video about this says a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the thing that I care a lot about. I want to be the person that I needed when I was 11, 12 years old, when I felt suicidal, when I felt depressed, when I was going through that. You know what I'm saying? I needed somebody like me to be confident, to stand up, to speak up. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I am becoming that person. I'm becoming that better version, because I realized, like, you know what I went through when I was younger, it affected me. You know what I'm saying? I used to feel hella sad. I used to feel my self-esteem and my self-confidence was so low, man. And like, just to see where I'm at now, like I'm proud of myself. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing I've learned too. Like, I've learned a lot about the mind and how influential the mind is when we're younger. From the ages of 5 to 7 years old, the brain operates on like a theta frequency, which basically means the brain is more like influenced. Like, it's like a sponge. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we're kids, when we're younger, we're like sponges. We're soaking in so much information. I relate it to being like a mold and concrete. When we're younger, our brains is like the mold, right? And then like the concrete is like the information. It's like experiences. It's like everything that we're learning is like the concrete, and it's being poured into the mold. And over time, the mold is gonna harden up. And it's the same thing with us. The things that we learn when we're younger, we soak it up. We soak it up. The experiences, the things that we told by our parents, we soak it all up. That's why it's hard for people to make changes when they get older, because they're so accustomed to a specific way of thinking. Their brains have adopted a specific ideas and belief systems. And I think that's what, for me, that's what this whole like spiritual path is about. It's about more so unlearning things that I was taught and learning new things that are better for me. And I feel like that's really my goal. Like, I just want to see society be better, but we have to be aware of the past. We have to be aware of the things that we've experienced. And that's the thing I'm learning too. You may not be able to change what happened in the past. You may not be able to change what you experienced, but at the same time, it's your responsibility to heal from it, to learn from it. You know what I'm saying? And there's different avenues. We got therapy, we got all types of stuff. But I think that's what's going to help us going forward. If we want to stop a lot of this nonsense that's been going on, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the main reason why people do a lot of the absurd stuff they do, because they got trauma, they got issues, they got hurt, they got pain, and people take that out on other people. That's why that's one of the main reasons that I think people do a lot of the crazy stuff that be happening, like school shootings and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? All types of stuff, because people got hurt deep down. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has some type of pain, you know what I'm saying? And like, just like J. Cole said and on his album KOD, like, a lot of us have demons. We got stuff that we didn't went through, you know what I'm saying? And we might not feel like talking about it, or we don't even know how to talk about it or have an outlet. So we abuse certain things like drugs or alcohol or whatever to try to make up, to try to feel better about that pain. But that's just like a Band-Aid. That's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It's not gonna do much. You know what I'm saying? You might feel a little bit better, but you still got a wound. You still got a wound that's bleeding. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's gonna take time, and it's gonna take, practice. But I do think that as a society we can do better, especially in the Black community, especially in communities with people of color, because like we don't value mental health. We don't value talking about this stuff enough, and I want to change that. You know what I'm saying? We just brush it off like it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make it a race thing, but if you look at like white people or other races, they care about that. They take their kids to therapy like nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't think about it twice. We like, oh, you going to therapy, or you crazy, or you know what I'm saying? Like we have to normalize taking care of our mental health. Like it's not something that's weird. It's not something that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like being aware of these things, talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't feel like you can open up to your parents or your family, like have an outlet. You know what I'm saying? That's why I started writing poetry, because I feel like I didn't have an outlet. I feel like, man, I gotta find something where I can let this out, what I'm going through. I gotta find something. You know what I'm saying? And that's basically like the beauty. It's like everybody has the outlet. Everybody has their own form of how they deal with stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I just think overall, the whole gist of this video is just about how trauma and how our childhood really affects us as we're older. You know what I'm saying? And I think if we want to end the cycle of repeating this stuff, then it's gonna start with us. It's gonna start with us, one at a time. Because if I ever have kids, I don't want them to have to go through what I went through. You know what I'm saying? I want them to have a better life. I want them to be able to talk to me about anything. Be like, you know what, Dad, Mom, like I'm going through this. You know what I'm saying? Instead of lashing out and being so judgmental and being like, oh nah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I want them to have that environment. I want them to have that outlet. And even if they don't feel like they can talk to me, have an outlet. You know what I'm saying? Playing sports or write poetry or whatever. As long as they have an outlet to get out whatever they feel or whatever they're thinking about. Because at the end of the day, we all human. And we want to all be loved. We want to all be appreciated. You know what I'm saying? That's the bigger picture. And I feel like family dynamics and childhood plays a role in all of that stuff. So I thank y'all so much for watching this video. I thank y'all so much for tuning in. And this is just a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. But I mean, I actually did make a video about this on my other YouTube channel. But I feel like, you know what, let me go ahead and redo it again, because it's such an important topic to talk about. But yeah, if y'all have any ideas or comments or thoughts, about your own experience or whatever, like comment down below. I'm curious to see what y'all think about this, because I know I'm not the only one that be thinking about this stuff. And you know what I'm saying? So I thank y'all for watching. I thank y'all for supporting me. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and subscribe, follow me on the socials, all that good stuff. It's your boy Lonnie.G, and I'm out of here.